There's an amazing book by two prominent psychologists called Immunity to Change. And in this book, they explain why it is so difficult for people to make changes they want. And in this video, I'm going to just share my PowerPoint, show one slide that shows basically a description that these psychologists have found studying tens of thousands of people and organizations over decades to show the primary reason why people don't make the changes they want. For example, let's just say that you have a desire to lose weight. Now, that desire may be something you can work really hard at. You may have willpower and try to have a good diet. But the real thing, the immunity to change, the thing that's stopping you from changing, that's what I'm going to show you in this video. It's a lot deeper than just your ability or inability to engage in the behaviors that will get you where you want to go. Actually, what I'm going to show you is that subconsciously, you're committed to not making the changes you want to make. You are actually fully committed to not making the changes you want. So let me go ahead and share my screen. So this is a simple model describing why change is difficult, and I'm going to explain it. So the first one is there's a commitment you want to make. Let's just say it's lose weight to have better health. So that's a change you want to make, but here's where you have an immunity to change. You've got certain things that are literally stopping that. The first one is, this first level is just the behavior. That there are behaviors that you either do or don't do that are in pure opposition to the goal. This could be snacking, and again, particularly in social settings, there's certain environments that you put yourself in where you get triggered, and then you do behavior that is literally opposing to your desired goal, or just not sticking with your plan. So this could be activities you do or don't do that this is the easy one. This is level 1 understanding. This is consciousness. This is where it gets to level 2 understanding. This is the subconscious stuff that's literally stopping you. So one is that you actually have hidden commitments that you have made in prior experiences. We all have commitments that we make in the past that we use to protect ourselves. Actually, I was having a recent conversation with a friend, and he was talking about how when he was in his 20s, he made a hidden commitment to himself that he would never date someone that he works with. And this is now a friend in his 40s, but he made that commitment for a reason, and it was based on probably good information or good data or good sound knowledge, but at a certain point, that commitment actually got in the way of something he wanted, and he finally became aware of it. He ended up getting out of a bad marriage, and there was someone he worked with in that he wanted to have a really beautiful emotional relationship with, a romantic relationship, and he had to confront a hidden commitment he had made 20 years prior that he would never work with someone and have a romantic relationship with them. He actually started to unpeel and unwind why he had resistance initially to having a romantic relationship with this person, and he was able to finally realize he had made a commitment back when he was in his 20s, and probably for good reason back then, but he had outgrown that. And I myself am actually in situations, various collaborations or things like that, where we've reached a plateau in what's possible in various of my relationships because the other party had made commitments to protect themselves in prior situations. And so this hidden commitments is really important. And by the way, commitment itself is a very, very important word because as people, our identity is the values and beliefs to which we're most committed. It's also the future to which we're most committed. And so basically, at the nutshell, identity is what you're most committed to. And you might be committed to things that were formed years or decades ago to protect yourself from something, or just because you learned something. It could be committed to an idea, as an example, that now is literally opposing your goal. So you have this goal, but you have these hidden commitments you formed years or decades ago that are literally stopping you from ever having the ability to achieve the goal. And then these hidden commitments lead to these types of behaviors. This example is committed to not being nervous in social settings. And so as a result, you eat during social settings so that you don't feel nervous. And also you're committed to the idea or the identity of being a foodie. This hits straight back to identity, by the way, that we all have identities of our past, present, and future selves. And you are holding on to identities. They're hidden commitments that are stopping you from being your desired future self. In other words, you're still committed to identities of your past self, which are stopping you from the goals you most want to do. So an obvious question is, what are the hidden commitments and identities that you have that are leading you to actions and behaviors that are directly oppositional to your goal? Your behavior always comes from your identity or from your commitments. This is key, and I think it's something that if you would sit and journal on this, you would get so much insight. Think about the goals that you have, the things you're striving to commit to, but that you continuously self-sabotage. And then I ask you, what is the hidden commitment that is actually leading to that self-sabotage? So this is the subconscious stuff. This is the conscious, and your behavior at the conscious level is being driven by what's unconscious. There's also big assumptions that you have that are leading to the hidden commitments and the actions and behaviors that are oppositional to your goal. So for example, I assume if I'm not eating, I will be awkward in groups. And so you may have assumptions or beliefs that lead you to actions and behaviors that are outside your goal. And so it's really important to observe your behavior. As an example, you have a goal, you have some goal, you want to make $1 million, but you're constantly spending your money. And so you want to dig into, what are the hidden commitments I have? Where and when did I formulate those commitments? And, what are the commitments that are ultimately leading me to the goal conflicting or the self-defeating behavior? But also, what are the assumptions? This is another great one. I assume that if I stop being the foodie, that I will be more awkward with people. That is an assumption. It doesn't have to be true. So this is about helping the unconscious become conscious. As people, our identity and our behavior comes from what we're most committed to. And the challenge that we all have is that we have hidden commitments that we formed based on experiences or even based on the assumptions and beliefs we have. And those hidden commitments are the root, deepest aspects of our identity that are holding us in the past and ultimately leading us to the self-defeating behavior, because the self-defeating behavior actually aligns with the hidden commitments and the assumptions we have. Our behavior, it's not random. It operates for a purpose. The problem is when our behavior is coming from hidden commitments that made sense to our past self, but now have reached an expiration date, which now are literally opposing our desired future self. And we all have this, by the way. We all have a past self that is holding us back from being our desired future self. And also we have hidden assumptions or beliefs that are ineffective at this point, and they're leading us to behavior that's stopping us. And so all progress starts by telling the truth. This is one of the most beautiful concepts in addiction recovery and in counseling and psychology, is all progress starts by telling the truth. Courage is the doorway to change. Also, all motivation can be triggered to either approach-oriented or avoid-oriented. And if you're avoiding the truth, if you're avoiding digging in and actually learning and understanding yourself, self-awareness, then you're going to continue to avoid commitment in the future. You don't want to be committed to the past. You don't want to be committed to past commitments that are holding you back. You want to make commitments in the present that match your best values and who you want to be in the future. This is a big aspect of becoming adaptive. It's also about becoming psychologically flexible. And so rather than being stuck with hidden commitments that are ultimately stopping you from being who you want to be and being opposed by assumptions, you just want to be really honest with yourself. And this doesn't mean that you're critical with yourself. You actually have more curiosity. So for example, if you have a goal, which you should have a goal, a specific, tangible, powerful goal that excites you, you then want to observe yourself when you start to engage in behaviors that are opposite to the goal or taking you in the opposite direction. Rather than being mad at yourself and beating yourself up, be curious and actually analyze the behavior and think about, what are the hidden commitments that I made that are leading me to this behavior? What are the assumptions that I may have that are facilitating the behavior that maybe in the past was actually useful to me, but now it's reached an expiration date? What got me here won't get me there. This is where you can really start to let go of your past self, and you can start to unwind the hidden commitments that are keeping you stuck, or the hidden assumptions and beliefs that are now holding you back from expanding into a much higher, better version of yourself. So this is something I really challenge you to do, because we all have hidden commitments that are leading us to the behaviors that are stopping us from being who we want to be. And if you can become aware of that hidden commitment and actually see where you formed it and why it's no longer relevant to you, then you can uncommit to that and let go of that. And that means that you're letting go of your past self and making space for your future self. And as you do that, your identity will shift where you can make commitments to things that will reflect the goal you want and have, and you can stop being so self-contradictory. Self-contradiction being cognitive dissonance. And so as you remove more contradictions between your current self and your desired future self, and if you weed out the contradictions of your past self, which there's no reason of being angry at your past self. They were in a different context than you. They were in a different place than you. And so rather than being mad at those hidden commitments or assumptions that you developed in the past, being aware of them and being really grateful and happy that you're now aware of them and that you can now let them go, seeing that they no longer help you with where you're trying to go. I really challenge you to do this. First off, be clear on your goal. This 4-step model is really beautiful, and I'm so thankful for the book Immunity to Change. First off, identify the goal. So you could use these four columns. Column number 1, what is your goal? Column number 2, what are the things you're either doing or not doing that are stopping you from achieving the goal? Column number 3, what are the hidden commitments that you developed at some point in your past that are leading to the behaviors or lack of behaviors that are stopping you from achieving your goal? And then, column number 4, what are the hidden assumptions that you have or beliefs that may be driving these behaviors that are very much pulling you away from who you want to be and where you want to go? And then dismantling those commitments and assumptions. All progress starts by telling the truth. Also, doing these types of things is helpful with other people, like actually expressing to other people that there's no reason to have ego in this. Like, once you start to develop a growth mindset, you stop needing to be right. People with a fixed mindset are really fragile. They don't want to be wrong. They don't want to fail. Whereas when you have a growth mindset, you don't really care if you're wrong in the present. When you have a growth mindset, you want to win the war, not the battle. You want to win the battle, but you're not as committed to the battle. You don't need to look good right now. You can be wrong right now and ultimately admit defeat so that you can win the long-term game. This is about optimizing for 10 years from now, not 10 days from now. This is about becoming anti-fragile versus less fragile. Growth mindset means you're willing to be vulnerable, honest, admit where you need help, admit where you're stuck, admit where you're catching yourself getting caught in old ways, and ultimately then letting those things go. One other really powerful thing about all this is the language we use. And I'll just briefly hit this, but this is just the idea that we all have a default view of our future. And that default view of our future is the thing that's driving most of our action and behavior today. And most of that default future comes from those hidden commitments. And we don't even realize it, but those hidden commitments are driving most of what we're doing throughout the day. And so as you change your view of the future, and as you change your language, because your language is in large part what shapes your view of the future, they actually call this generative language, is using language that shapes the future you want and shapes your perception, shapes your perspective, shapes what you see, your selective attention. Start using language that reflects your future self, not your past self. And then continuously unwind the hidden commitments and let those go. And you're not your past self. And so as you let go of commitments you made in the past, which are no longer relevant to your future, wow, that's a quantum change. Every time you let go of a hidden commitment, or you let go of a commitment that is literally now an immunity to the change you want to make, boom, you will make. That is really the unlearning or the deep work that happens. So I hope you enjoyed this video. I'm Dr. Benjamin Hardy, helping you strive to be and become your desired best future self. Please like this video. Please share it. Please subscribe. Have an amazing day.